Could the Zonai be the ancient aliens of Hyrule? We know that the mysterious ancient people of Tears of the Kingdom came down from the sky, but what if their origins are more extraterrestrial? Could they have come from outer space? There are certainly a lot of theories about this concept floating around, as there are definitely some unexplained aspects of the Zonai that seem very otherworldly, or even alien to what we know about Hyrule. So let's start with a little background information. The idea of aliens in general in the Zelda universe is not new, which may come as a bit of a surprise given the overall fantasy setting of the game. In the context of the latest games, we know that an alien invasion was something that the Zelda team discussed during development of Breath of the Wild, and during the lead up to Tears of the Kingdom, there was speculation that this unused plot point could be repurposed in the sequel. But the concept of aliens in Zelda games actually dates back much further than that. Way back in Majora's Mask, we see an alien invasion. There's a quest where you have to fight beings of light that use essentially a tractor beam to abduct cattle. Now, I'm not going to make the claim that these beings are the same as the Zonai, because that seems too big of a stretch, even for me. But if you really want to draw connections here, okay, the Zonai are also a species associated with light powers, and Ultra Hand is the closest thing we've seen to a tractor beam in these games, and that's an ability that's associated with Zonai magic. But given all the other differences, including their appearance and motivation, I don't think this is an argument you can really make. But now with that context out of the way, let's dive in and take a look at some of the arguments that I do think you can make towards the Zonai alien theory. The first aspect that points to an extraterrestrial origin story is that we never truly find a Zonai homeworld in the game. We know they came down from the sky, but there's no ancient city in the sky they could have descended from. The closest thing we have is the Great Sky Island, but we find out later in the game that it was raised from the surface of Hyrule. And the remaining Sky Archipelagos just don't seem to have enough landmass to have supported an entire society. The highest point we can reach in the game is around 3,200 meters, or about 10,000 feet, in the sky, and there doesn't seem to be anything higher up than that. Now, on our planet, 10,000 feet isn't that high. It's only around 2 miles. For reference, airplanes fly around 30,000 feet, and Earth's atmosphere extends to around 6,000 miles. But in Hyrule, it seems that the atmosphere is already thinning at that point, as we can see from the lower gravity. So if we can reach this high point in Hyrule's atmosphere and still see no sign of a Zonai civilization, perhaps the Zonai weren't based in the sky, but rather somewhere beyond the atmosphere, either floating somewhere in outer space or even on another planet entirely. I've seen it discussed that perhaps the Zonai could have come from the moon, which could have interesting implications if you want to connect them back to Majora's Mask. Another element that points towards alien origins is the Zonai's technology. Zonai Tech as a whole is very advanced for current-day Hyrule. Although it seems the Sheikah eventually developed tech that could rival them, back in Raru's time, tens of thousands of years in the past, when this tech was first used, it's clear that it was on a level that was unlike anything that version of ancient Hyrule had ever seen. For me, it's specifically the Zonai's anti-gravity technology that seems like it could be hinting at an alien origin. Their demonstrated ability to lift huge masses of land into the air, as well as their capacity to manipulate and construct all kinds of vehicles, could indicate that they're a species that's capable of space travel. We even see these UFO-like transports, which are very reminiscent of the classic flying saucer. Now, if the Zonai were aliens, it would provide an alternative answer to that nagging question of what happened to them. In my last video, I explored several different pathways that could have led to the Zonai Society's collapse. Initially, I dismissed the idea that they simply got what they needed from Hyrule and left, but if we approach it from the angle that the Zonai were from outer space, perhaps we can argue that they were a society of aliens that traveled the stars, searching for Zonite throughout the universe. Once they'd stripped Hyrule of the majority of Zonite and got what they needed, maybe they moved on to another planet, and only the Zonai who became emotionally attached to the land, or like Raru, fell in love, stayed behind. There are also many elements in Tears of the Kingdom that allude to the influence of Ancient Aliens-style conspiracy theories. If you're not familiar, Ancient Aliens is a TV show full of wild theories rooted in pseudoscience about ancient astronauts, speculating that alien contact throughout history is responsible for the development of certain civilizations and cultures. The content of the show is total nonsense that's been debunked many times, but it does make for some funny memes. So how does this all relate back to Tears of the Kingdom and the Zonai? First, the geoglyphs that appear throughout the game take a clear visual inspiration from real-world petroglyphs, especially the Nazca lines in Peru. These real-world wonders were created by humans between 500 BC to 500 AD, And the mystery behind their purpose has led to many theories, including conspiracy theories that aliens created them as landing sites for their UFOs. Again, these ideas have been debunked by real scientists, of course, but the cultural impact behind that debate could have fueled the in-game connection, as the appearance of the geoglyphs in Tears of the Kingdom stem from the Zonai through their connection to the secret stones. The other connection to pseudo-archaeology involves the Gerudo Pyramid that serves as the lightning temple in the game. In my previous video about the dungeons, I've established that I believe the pyramid was built by the Gerudo and predates the Zonai's descent to Hyrule, but others have speculated that the Zonai built it with or for the Gerudo. Following the ancient aliens logic, this ties to the debunked idea that the real-world pyramids that were constructed by various ancient human civilizations could have only been built by or with help from otherworldly visitors. These conspiracy theories are incredibly problematic because it questions and undermines the architectural skills of usually non-European civilizations. In the same vein, while some of the temples in Tears of the Kingdom do appear to have been built with Zonai collaboration, when you take a close look at the architecture of the Gerudo Pyramid, that temple in particular seems to be infused with their culture. The Zonai artifacts seem to be a layer built on top of an existing ancient structure that was created by the Gerudo alone. So, were the Zonai aliens? I don't know for sure, but frankly, I hope not. If Nintendo really was drawing inspiration from the conspiracy theories of pseudo-archaeology, I think it's kind of a bummer. In the same way that those conspiracy theories devalue the achievements of ancient human civilizations, if the Zonai truly did swoop in from outer space and build the architectural marvels of Hyrule in addition to forming the kingdom, it diminishes the impact of the people of Hyrule that we've grown to love. The contributions of the Hylians, Rito, Gerudo, Gorons, and the Zora begin to pale in comparison to the technology of this mega-advanced alien civilization. When I first started writing this theory, I was on board with the idea, because at face value, yeah, it could explain a few mysteries about the Zonai, like where they came from, how they disappeared, and why they're so powerful. But the more I thought about it, expanding the universe to account for a superpowered people from space just makes the Kingdom of Hyrule feel smaller, and making all the lore and legends feel less significant seems like a bad trade-off just to get those answers about this new species. So this is just my opinion, of course, but I'm going to stick with my previous theory that the Zonai were connected to the world of Hyrule rather than another world. But you know I can't resist a good Zelda conspiracy theory, and it's always fun to speculate, so I enjoyed the exercise of exploring the possibilities. Unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how you look at it, we'll never actually know for sure, as with Nintendo's confirmation that there will be no DLC for Tears of the Kingdom, they'll be leaving us with so many unanswered questions about the lore of the Zonai. While it's been fun doing a deep dive on the Zonai for the past few videos, they're not the only mysterious piece to the Kingdom of Hyrule. My plan for the next video is to explore the new elements of the history of the Gerudo that were revealed in Tears of the Kingdom, so stay tuned for that. As always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.